Hi, I'm Connor with Adventure Subaru, and today we're going to be going over how to change the spare tire on your Subaru. We're going to be demonstrating this on a new 2025 Forester, which with all of our spares is located in the trunk or underneath on the Ascent models. Now on the Subaru Ascents, the spare is located underneath of the vehicle with a mechanism to hold it in place, as opposed to our other ones where it is just simply laying in the cavity of the rear trunk. You will be accessing a panel here to expose a little rubber plug that the nut of the winching mechanism is at. And with the tools provided here in the vehicle, you will be winding down said mechanism to hold the tire. And then the tire will be on the ground after it's winched out completely. And then to remove it, you will simply take the mechanism that it's held in place with to remove it. And then we have the spare. In the spare tire removal kit in the trunk, we do have just a few important pieces of the process here, one including the jack itself, the tool to remove the lug nuts, and then we have the tow handle in the event that the vehicle will need to be towed and it's no longer drivable. And then we have a spare screwdriver for any necessary thing you may need to use a Phillips head for on the vehicle. Now, one thing you should remember is before you do start to remove any of the lug nuts on the vehicle and lift it, it's a very good idea to put the parking brake on, which will lock both of the back wheels. The car being in park itself is only using the force of the gears and the transmission, but the vehicle can still potentially move. So of course, we're gonna need to start with the jack itself, and then we'll need something, and you can use the screwdriver as a point of leverage to lift the vehicle up, because this will take quite a bit of force lifting a corner of the vehicle. The notch in the jack itself will need to be replaced into the pinch weld of the vehicle, and there will be a corresponding mark around the area back here that will give you direction as to where to place this. Now underneath the vehicle here, this is the pinch weld area. It is a protruding piece of steel that is approximately half an inch or so in length, but it is a very strong point that the jack slides into to lift the vehicle up, and that is the only place this jack is designed to operate. Don't skip arm day, because these lug nuts are tight enough to stay on, and the leverage on this bar may not be enough, but it is possible. So I do recommend buying a 4-way lug nut wrench at most auto parts stores, larger name stores as well too. These are manageable to take off, but they do not go without quite a bit of force. And in my profession of doing this is still a little difficult, even with this amount of leverage. What we're going to be doing here is we're not going to be removing the lug nuts because the vehicle's still on the ground and it's not been lifted yet. We only want to use the weight of the vehicle itself to break the lug nuts free, because after the vehicle's been lifted, the wheel may want to spin just a little bit. So we're trying to prevent that from occurring. Now that they've all been broken free a little bit, we can raise this part of the vehicle, and now we're not gonna have a hard time getting those lug nuts off. Now we'll start by lifting the vehicle with the jack provided. Make sure you're on a flat surface, no dirt, sand. Wanna make sure it's nice and hard, concrete preferred. And then you can use this screwdriver as a leverage tool. The back end of the handle may appear that it can fit, but it does not. Once you can tell that the tire itself has no longer been squished by the force of the vehicle, and you can see underneath of it, at that point, you can simply stop, because the vehicle's already lifted high enough. All right, we're off. This is the point where I would go to my stall and grab my impact gun of some sort to take these off, because it just take a minute. There we have it, off. We can set it to the side, or you can put it in the trunk. There is a small plastic bag that is in the trunk that you can use as a means to keep the interior from getting dirty, that the tire can be rested in. We'll be mounting the spare. Now, these need to be properly torqued down to a specific value, that of which you will not be able to know by using this. Now, getting it as tight as you can with the leverage of the stick, I guarantee you, you will not be breaking these lug nuts. But this is a temporary spare, and it has a recommended maximum speed limit, which is listed on the tire. On the instructions, it does say to not exceed 50 miles an hour with this spare on it. This tire is not the same size as all the other three, so you do not want to drive on this longer than you need to avoid any damage to the drivetrain itself. When you go back to torque this on, you will torque the lug nuts in a star pattern. And the purpose of this is to apply an even amount of distributing torque on the wheel as all of the lug nuts are torqued down. This will make sure that there is no movement, lateral movement of the tire itself. Luckily, the process of winding down the winch is going to be a bit easier since you're not having to lift the vehicle up. Of course, it still will be a little bit difficult with the load on this rod here. But the name of this operation is just patience and consistency. You won't have to wind it all the way back down. It does sit in the holder at about this position, give or take, so it doesn't need to be clasped all the way down. That's all for today. If you have any further questions, give us a call or visit us online at adventuresubaru.com.